Hello and welcome. I'm Sunny Chi, and here's what happened this week. Typhoon Koinu has left 1 person dead and over 300 injured in Taiwan. The storm has passed, but the works to fix the damage it caused is still ongoing. John Van Triest has the latest.
Toppled scooters and broken glass. Fallen trees and downed power lines. Taiwan is cleaning up after Typhoon Koinu, the second typhoon to make landfall this year. It brought punishing winds, with record-breaking gusts of over 300 kilometers an hour in some places. More than 300 people were hurt, and Koinu's strong winds killed 1 person, a woman in the central city of Taichung. Crews worked into the evening to restore power to tens of thousands of homes across central Taiwan. And in the country's rugged interior, workers have been trying to restore access to an area cut off when a river burst its banks and washed out the road. Locals had been evacuated before the storm, but now can't go home. But that isn't guaranteed to last. Taiwan's mountainous areas are prone to severe landslides. Storms that scraped past the country earlier this year have caused repeated damage to infrastructure, meaning that while Koinu has passed Taiwan and is now heading toward China, officials can't let their guard down yet. Joseph Wu and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's National Day has triggered controversy before it's even begun. Former President Ma Ying-jeou says he'll boycott this year's celebrations. Leslie Liao explains.
Taiwan's National Day is coming up next week on October 10th. That's the date that commemorates an uprising that led to the formation of the government that governs Taiwan, the Republic of China. The occasion will be marked by a presidential address, parades, and other celebrations. But the branding for this year's event has stirred a bit of controversy. Over the past few years, the event has been called Taiwan National Day in English, even though strictly speaking, the date commemorates the founding of the Republic of China. Former President Ma Ying-jeou took to Facebook to announce that this year he won't be attending the ceremonies because he takes issue with this English branding, saying that the government does not represent Taiwan, it should represent the Republic of China. Ma claims the Republic of China technically represents both Taiwan and China, even if this is something the Chinese Communist Party disagrees with. He says that by changing the country's formal name during the National Day celebrations, the current Tsai Ing-wen administration is advocating for Taiwanese independence. Ma says that these actions go against Tsai's oath to uphold the Republic of China's constitution. Former President Ma Ying-jeou is a senior member of the opposition Kuomintang, which has closer ties with China. But the Kuomintang currently trails in opinion polls going into Taiwan's next presidential elections in January. Now, President Ma used the occasion to urge voters to vote the at-power DPP out of office so that Taiwan's National Day can return to its rightful place as the Republic of China's National Day. The DPP responded with Premier Chen Jianren saying Ma has attended previous National Day celebrations that were likewise branded Taiwan National Day.
我们英文在这几年来都一直称为台湾 National Day。马前总统呢过去也曾经参加了这些国庆的活动。我们希望大家能够团结在一起来参加这一个重要的活动，也让我们一起来捍卫我们中华民国台湾的主权、自由和民主。
Ma says this will be the first time in 4 decades he will forego attending National Day celebrations. With the elections in January at stake, his boycott may be no mere protest, but an attempt to rally like-minded citizens to the ballot box next year. Joseph Wu and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
Now that dispute over Taiwan's official name has spilled over to the presidential race, the opposition KMT candidate Hou You-yi had this to say to his ruling party rival Lai Ching-te.
大家问问赖清德，你有认同中华民国的宪法无？你有认同中华民国无？你有要甲咱中华民国永远徛伫中华民国立场？
In response, Lai's camp says he'll carry on President Tsai Ing-wen's policies, which mentions the Republic of China in 2 places. His camp also says it is Ho that is undermining the ROC's existence by accepting the 1992 consensus, a controversial statement that says Taiwan is part of China. Labour groups are condemning a lack of pro-worker policies from the main presidential candidates. As the campaign moves into its final 100 days, labour rights activists held a rally in the capital. John Van Triest was there.
Soaked by the rain and surrounded by police, a group of labor activists gather in Taipei with a message for candidates in the upcoming presidential election that demands for better working conditions are not going away. Since they banded together in 2016, the group has been holding rallies before every presidential vote. But this time, just 100 days before people go to the polls, there's a different kind of anger in the air. There could be 4 serious presidential hopefuls this time, but the activists say each of the candidates has been too busy attacking each other to pay attention to workers' problems.
到目前为止都还没有正式的一个立场来表态说要去挺劳动政策的，或者是说有发布这个劳动政策白皮书的部分。
Disillusionment with mainstream parties runs high here. The tiny Labour Party is one of the contingents out in force. But these protesters still want to make it clear that worker support can't be taken for granted.
那这4个总统候选人对我来说，目前我看起来都是一个比较是偏重资本家的这个立场的。我们也希望说能够让这些总统候选人可以看到，这个劳工的选票其实是，如果是你需要的，有一些彻底的改变，在这个阶段应该是非常重要。
There are 7 specific changes they want. Some are familiar, like calls for higher wages and more days off. But recent events have added to the list of demands. A factory explosion in late September killed 10 people and injured over 100 more. Inspectors later found the factory had committed numerous safety violations leading up to the tragedy. Firefighters, who lost 4 of their colleagues in the disaster, say this isn't an isolated case. They want greater workplace safety protections and bigger penalties for factory owners who break the law.
这已经是台湾在这10年来第3起的集体殉职事件了，所以消防员非常的愤慨。为什么政府长期的去漠视消防员的职业安全问题，以及不让消防员组织工会为自己发声？
As the campaign enters its final stages, there are plenty of other events, including the upcoming National Day celebrations, which are likely to grab attention. But in the drizzle, these activists say they won't stand for ignoring the problems faced by the country's workers any longer. Howard Zhang and John Van Triest for TaiwanPlus.
Bringing energy from the ground to the cloud, Taiwan is exploring new ways to reach its net zero and renewable energy goals. One possible solution is virtual power plants. Jeremy Olivier explains.
With a population of over 23 million and one of the world's biggest tech manufacturing industries, Taiwan has some serious energy needs. But it's having more and more trouble meeting that growing demand for power. The country is extremely reliant on energy imports, its grid is faltering, and it only has a limited amount of land to keep building power stations and wind and solar farms. In the search to help overcome these energy woes, one solution being put forward is virtual power plants, or VPPs. At a recent forum hosted by the Industrial Technology Research Institute, or ITRI, energy experts discuss how these systems could help plug up the power supply gap.
它事实上是整合的不同的分散能源，包括呢你的发电就是再生能源，或是储电storage， 那也有就是虚量反应，也就是说你可以减少用电。其实减少用电就好像增加发电，事实上是一样的。
So how exactly does a VPP work? Compared with large physical plants, virtual power stations are cloud-based networks of smaller energy-producing or storage devices. Think things like wind farms, batteries, even electric vehicles. These components are connected and remotely controlled by Internet of Things technology. The energy they produce is pooled together and sent out to the electric grid. Besides reducing consumption, proponents say this kind of system could increase renewable energy usage and secure the power supply in places that are vulnerable to natural disasters, like Taiwan. It's also touted as a sustainable way of producing electricity.
以它参加的容量来看的话，大概就等同于我们现在一部核能机组。 那未来这个量会继续再增加，一个厂商它进来，那实际上的量更多。
And the idea has been gaining ground. In 2020, the Taiwan Power Company partnered with energy service provider NLX to launch the country's first VPP. Since then, numerous businesses have joined it, including electric scooter maker Gogoro, which dedicated over 1,000 of its battery charging stations to the network. But not all are keen on the idea. Yang Jiafa, an energy specialist who supports the use of nuclear power, says a major issue is the inconsistent output of renewable energy.
台湾因为现在越来越多的再生能源，变成我们需要使用大量的储能，或是说类似这种虚拟电厂好了，来去平衡它，因为再生能源的供需很难控制的，就是它不是一个可以受控制的能源。
Still, there seems to be more enthusiasm than skepticism for VPPs. And as Taiwan continues to look for ways to achieve its goal of net zero emissions by 2050, these networks may become one of the major tools in its toolkit. Chris Ma and Jeremy Olivier for TaiwanPlus.
Here in Taiwan, there are public concerns over the mildly radioactive water, and experts are trying to put out people's minds at ease. Eric Gao has more.
Japan's government is dumping more treated water from the ruined Fukushima nuclear plant into the Pacific. Its first release was in August and September, despite protests from some of its neighbors. They say they're concerned about the long-term impact on human health and the environment. Here in Taiwan, simulations from the Nuclear Safety Commission show the water could reach the country's shores in about 4 years. But local experts say there's no cause for concern. Japan's wastewater, they say, is no more dangerous than that produced by Taiwan's own nuclear reactors.
我们自己的核三厂排的就比福岛电厂多60%嘛，而且已经排了快40年了嘞，所以安全是绝对没有问题。那台电公司评估出来的报告哈，它对民众造成的最大剂量，比我们吃一根香蕉的钾释石的剂量还要再低50倍。
International and Taiwanese experts say the treated water falls well within the safety standards, but some people are concerned about a few isotopes that are harder to detect and have longer half-lives, meaning they could stay longer in the body and in the environment.
我们并不是觉得当下这个水就是有毒的，并不是，而是我们谈的是长期的累积。当它排放那么久之后，在海洋环境累积的东西是一定会被明确监测到的，这是我们当然担心的，这是全球首例，也是环境未知的巨大风险。
That unknown is a major concern for Taiwan's fishing industry. The discharged water is expected to head directly to the fishing grounds of Taiwan's sorry fishing fleet.
我常讲说，科学的数据是安心的，但是不等同于民众的。
The fishing industry has been helping the government monitor radiation levels to help calm concerns over the impact on seafood.
在前2年，工会就所有会员就有持续配合做一个海水的一个检测。今年我们每一艘渔船都会配合渔业署做100%的一个检测。
Once the fishing boats collect the data, the government releases it to the public. They try to simplify the results to make them easy to understand.
像我们的扩散预报就有把它转变成红绿灯。那如果是绿灯的状况，也就是都是在远低于就是也都是在目前的这个背景的范围，就是目前的就是安全的范围。
Japan will discharge treated water from Fukushima for the next 30 years. That means experts and industries here in Taiwan may have to keep working for a long time to ease people's concerns. Chris Ma, Pichi Zhuang, Kate Wong, and Eric Gao for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching Here's What Happened. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we leave with images of parkourers showing off their moves in Madagascar. I'm Sani Chi, take care and see you next week.
I'm Leslie Liao in New York City, and this is TaiwanPlus News, a voice of freedom in Asia.